I'm Carla with Race to Walk, and I am going to be doing a review today on What Kind of Love Is This by Charlotte Thomason. But before we get started, a little bit about this channel. Here we share good thoughts about good words. And on Fridays, I host a live Bible study on Instagram at Race to Walk, and then I publish 2 videos a week. I publish a replay of that Bible study with some study aids, as well as a video about books. So if you're interested in either of those things, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you get updates about new videos. So this book, What Kind of Love Is This? Charlotte Thomason is a friend of mine. She is a fellow graduate from Houston Baptist University's Cultural Apologetics program. So that's how I know her. She's also contributed a couple times, I think at least, to An Unexpected Journal. And What Kind of Love Is This is her memoir. She experienced some pretty horrific abuse as a child. The abuse is part of the story, but the bigger part of the story is the message of hope in it. And when you start reading the book, you may not believe that because it starts off so bad. But at the end of the book, you see how she comes through it and really overcomes it. When I was reading this, I was actually a beta reader for the book, and I know Charlotte, so I know the end, right? I know her. I also saw a video where she gives an account of a near-death experience, and that's on Dr. Michael Kona's channel. I'll link to it. So I had seen that, and that's part of this story. But I didn't know how that experience fit into the whole rest of her story. So when I started beta reading it, I'll just be honest, it was really difficult getting through probably the first half of it. Really, really difficult. She breaks up some of the intensity of the story by including letters to her younger self. It's almost like an emotional break for the reader because you need a little bit of those glimpses of hope as you're reading through the story. But even with that, I had to put it down a couple of times when I was beta reading it because it was just so overwhelming. It was just not only the story, but just thinking, how was it possible that this was allowed to continue and to go on? And I was like thinking, if the people that did this aren't dead or in jail, they need to be. There should not be one more day that goes by without justice for this. So just FYI, they are dead. So just know that, because that's what I needed to know as I was going through this book. I actually stopped and asked her. Different people are going to be reading this book. I know that there will be a lot of people who read this who have lived through abuse. And Charlotte's message is, there is a way out. Things do get better. I don't care how bad your circumstances are, how broken and damaged you feel that you are. If you read this and you see where it ends, you know that there's hope for you too. But for people who haven't experienced abuse, I think that this is something that will maybe give some insight about how long-lasting the impact of abuse is. And I think that we need to recognize that what we experience shapes us, and that sometimes the way people act, we're all accountable for our actions. At some point we all have to say, okay, I know this happened to me, but I have a choice about what I'm going to do about it. And I realize that. But we have to realize that other people have different life experiences, and maybe some of the things that we're seeing in their life that we just don't understand or have a hard time having grace for, maybe there's a reason for that. And maybe they need someone to show them about how things can be different. I think Charlotte's book does do that. It shows that things can be different. But we have to recognize that it's not always as easy as we think it should be, because sometimes people are starting at different places. The other thing for me personally, having volunteered in children's ministry, and then you read the statistics, how common child abuse is, it's just scary. And I just think, I look back at the classes that I've taught, and the places where I volunteered, and knowing how prevalent it is, I wonder, was there a sign there that I missed? Was there something that I should have been aware of and should have stepped in? And so I don't know. I don't have the answer. This is the first book that I'm going to be reviewing on sexual abuse. And I don't know, how do you respond? I don't necessarily know the answer right now, but I'm hoping that as I read through the books this month, that that's something that I'll be a little bit better prepared for and be aware of. So the other thing that I think that this book does, not only for people who have been through abuse, but for all of us who have, we may not have gone through the trauma that she's gone through, but we all have stuff and we all have things that we have to work through. And I think what this book shows, it shows the sanctification process. It shows how the Holy Spirit walks through our mess with us and brings us out of it. It shows how we're transformed into the image of Christ, and we have to let him work in us. You know, we have to be willing to submit to the Holy Spirit. And it's a process. It's a process. We continue to walk out of it. And as we let go of, you know, this bitterness and resentment and learn how to forgive people and ourselves and God and let him restore and heal us and make us a new person, that things do get better and it comes to a good end. But it's not a 30-minute fix. It's not a fast process. It's a continuous process. And I think that in our microwave mindset culture, we think, okay, I'm going to read a self-help book and that's just going to be an answer. It's going to be a quick fix. And that's not life. That's not the way we are as human beings. That's why we need the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit has to heal us inside out. And that's the way it works. And I think that's one of the things that this book shows. Again, so this book is What Kind of Love Is This by Charlotte Thomason. It's launching on June 30th, but you can pre-order it now, and there's a pre-order special. I'll link to it in the description. So the pre-order special is going to be available for the month of April, and then after that it will, you know, if you watch this video after that, it will link to the regular sales for the book. But I'm going to be doing a discussion with Charlotte on April 10th on Saturday at 3 p.m. So if you have any questions about this book or like to listen in, be sure to join us for that. You can also go to Charlotte's website, sign up for her newsletter so you can get updates about the book launch. So I'm really excited about this book and that it's going to be available for you to read. And so when you get your copy of the book, be sure to read it and come back and let me know your thoughts. But again, be sure to join us next week for our discussion, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.